Good evening, everyone. My name is Zhang, and today I will present about my project. So first of all, let me share you my screen. You guys can all see my screen, right? Okay. Okay, awesome. Okay, so let's start it. Okay, so my project is called Instapop, which is basically, oh wow, it's taking so long. Okay, so basically an application that help influencer to predict whether their post will go viral or not. Okay, so this is the flow of the presentation. So I'm gonna start first with some introduction, and then I'm gonna talk a bit more on the methodologies, like how I approaching the problem. Third is a live demo, and the fourth is a further development. Okay, so let's starting first. So I have a marketing background, and one of my biggest problem was like, how can I invest my money, right? And the COVID only exacerbated this trend, and all the marketer is have their budget cut. But at the same time, people engage more and more with online content, right? So how we can help the influencer, particularly the all who create the content, to maximize and prove to the marketer that okay, your investment on my content is worth it. That is the background of my project. Okay. So the idea is that we can create an application that help influencer to predict whether their post gonna go viral or not. And I'm gonna choose Instagram, a visual-based platform, to analyze and approach the problem. Okay, methodology. So first of all, what is popular, right? So I define five elements of popularity. This is taken from Instagram documentation and all the paperwork I have read. And I define five features, what is the more important for popularity ingredient. First of all, posting time, image authentic, whether the image is visually pleasing or not. This is a very tricky one because, how can you define something as pretty or not, right? It's very subjective. I will go deeper into that later. And then the next one is category. So which category that influencer belong to? Are they a family? Are they a beauty influencer or travel influencer? Whether the spot or the post is sponsored or not, and whether there is anyone tagged in those posts. All of this could be considered an ingredient to popularity. Okay. So after we have that defined, let's talk a little bit on how approaching this problem. So I approach it in threefold. First of all, I'm using deep learning, basically using transfer learning to build a CNN model to help predict image aesthetic, right? And after that, after I have that feature, image aesthetic, I'm gonna extract in all the important feature from a very large Instagram influencer data set, extracting all the important feature like pausing time, whether the pause is tag or not, whatsoever. And then the third part is I using traditional machine learning. Particularly, I comparing between random forest and XGBoost to analyze a feature important and predict its popularity. Okay. Okay, coming up next. So how do I select data? So I have two data set I'm using. First of all, for authentic rating, I'm using an AVA data set. This is a state-of-the-art data set that you for analyzing authentic. So this data set including 9,000, over 10,000 photo, and it's also including the rating annotation from professional and amateur photographer. So you have a very trained eye to look at a photo and say, this is pretty and this is not. Okay. And then after, I'm using three classes to basically, I'm using this like multi-class classification problem. So I'm gonna label the data at low, medium, and high quality. Okay, so for the second dataset, I'm using influencer and brand dataset collecting from UCLA University. So this dataset including images and metadata stored in a JSON file that using Instagram API of like 1,000, almost 1,000, more than 1,000 photo. And I think two classes, popular or not popular. Okay, so we talk about the dataset. Next one, I will talk a bit more how I be processing data. So as you see here for authentic rating task, this is on the left side is the original data I get from the AVA dataset. This is including how many people rating a image from 1 to 10. So I'm taking all this number using weighted average to work out a mean score of the image ID. And after that, I'm gonna start label it. So let's say if an image having from 7 and above, I would categorize that at high quality. From 4 to 7 is medium, and below 4 is low quality. Okay, so this is an authentic model structure. So in the task particularly, I'm using base model at MobileNet V2. I trained for about 9 epoch with loss function at categorical cross entropy because this is a multi-class classification problem. And after training, I got the validation accuracy of about 0.75. It's definitely need to be improved, and I definitely have more time with working on it a little bit more. This is the basic of the model infrastructure. Okay, so we solved the authentic challenge. The next challenge is how we can input this to create to identify if a post is popular or not. So the next one is labeling whether an image is popular. So to approach that, I'm using engagement rate. So this is an industry standard rate that we use to measure post popularity by influencer. So the engagement rate will be calculated as sum of number of likes plus number of comments and divided by number of followers. Okay, and then I'm gonna using Influencer Hub industry benchmark, break the influencer down by their follower size. So let's say if the follower size is below 15,000, their average engagement rate have to be about like 3.86 would be considered as average. So anything higher than that, I would consider that as popular. And anything lower than the industry average, and you can see in the right side, it could be considered as not popular. Okay, let me know if I talk too fast, yeah? Okay. So after I have that, I'm gonna using XGBoost, basically using backing and boosting, traditional machine learning to predict the post popularity. You can see here I'm using recall as a most important metric to measure the progress. And I can see that random forest performing better than XGBoost in terms of having a higher recall. And I'm gonna do random forest to further fine tuning it. So how do I fine tuning random forest? So this is the random forest I use. I'm using a number of estimator, basically number of tree, about 80. And then after using random grid, basically a collection of like different combination to see whether a post will be popular or not. And I have this much improved number of the metric of recall about 0.74. With these hyper parameter being already fine tuned. So yes, so here is a very brief workout of the feature importance. So after extracting and work out the feature importance, I realized that weekday, for example, is particularly important for the images, for the post to be popular, like when you're gonna post that, right? The next feature also quite important is aesthetic, basically how the image look, whether it look visually pleasing or not, and whether the account is tagged with someone or what is the category. So yeah, so that is basically the infrastructure that I use to approach the problem. So now we can come with live demo. Okay. Okay, so this is Instapop demo time. Yay. Okay, too excited. So how to approach this? So I built a basic web app. So we have 5 different ingredients. So first of all, influencer category, right? You can choose different category here, and then you can choose the day you want to post this photo. And then you're gonna see whether you're gonna tag anyone in the photo or not, and whether this post is sponsored or not. Okay, and then after that, I'm gonna have the ingredient number 5, which is image aesthetic. So here is where the CNN model run at the back. Okay, so I'm gonna try this photo, which is super pixelated because it's a photo taken by me. So I'm gonna upload it in, and then the model gonna run at the back. Okay, it's gonna running at the back to give us a prediction whether the image is considered at high, medium, or low quality. Okay, we're gonna let it run a little bit, and after it have the ingredient sorted, it's gonna work out to predict consuming all the feature above to see whether this images, this post will be popular. Okay, it's almost there, and the result gonna take a bit while because the model run a little bit long. But I come back to my presentation. Okay. I know it's incredibly short time and how limited my knowledge is. So there's a lot of work to be done. So first of all, after this project, I would love to like working a little bit more to increase the ABA classes, because right now I'm just using 3 class, right? Low, medium, and high. But how about we increase ABA class, or even not making it as a multi-class problem, but actually a regression problem where we can output the average mean score, for example. And I can double down more on influencer category to see whether the category also influence the popularity differently. The second one is also working on image content, because image content also equally important. So also how to analyze image content using the semantic tag that already available in ABA dataset. And the third one is that, as you can see, the feature important. One of them is weekday, right? So how about working on like exploring new feature that relating to day? Let's say extracting geo feature that to know where the post is posted, and then using that to work backward to figure out the exact local time that the post is posted. But it would definitely have to improve the accuracy of the model. And also to explore the content of the post as well, because right now I'm focusing on Instagram, which is a more visual-based social media. But later on, we're expanding to Facebook, for example, or more platform that's more content focused, how different it could be. Okay. Okay. So let's get back a bit to the Streamlit. Okay, so this already accurately predict this one at low quality, and this pod will be not popular because of the low quality images. So let's try with something different. Let's say I could this photo. This is a high quality photo that taken from one of a professional photographer, and let's see how the result will be show up differently. It might take a bit of time, but I would love to take the judge question now while we're waiting for the result. And that is the end of my presentation. Thank you for listening.